Class, welcome back. We're going to continue lesson 13 for business planning and marketing. And really in this video, we're going to focus more on the core principles and also provide some application as we go. So, components of a business plan. They are the organizational plan, the marketing plan, the financial plan, and project analysis. So think of it in terms of big picture, starting off with the organization. How do we reach out to clients? How do we run the finances of the company? And then the individual projects that support the successful operation of the company. And this is how they all tie together. So getting into more of the details for the organizational plan, it describes the nature of the business. Who are we and what do we do and where do we do it? You need to add focus to these components, otherwise you'll just be doing business all over the place and probably not making money. What are the long-term strategies? How are we going to reach out to those clients 5 and 10 years from now? What's our business operating model? It's a combination of roles, skills, structure, processes. It's the way that business is structured to be delivered. Are you online or are you going to be brick and mortar where you provide services through an outlet? Or in this case, as a design professional, how are we going to provide those services? Are there different operating models? Yes, there are. There's a low-cost provider like Walmart with everyday low prices, premium provider like Mercedes-Benz, low margin, high volume like Amazon, and high margin, low volume like Bugatti, which I didn't even know what that was until recently, and they are fantastic cars. Professional service models. What operating models do professional firms use? How can they replicate models used by product companies? When we also think of the organization, we think of the structure of how it looks, and we often see it in terms of a pyramid with the chief executive officer or the CEO who sits at the top, and then it filters down to various ranks of individuals. There's also the marketing segment. So we have kind of management, but then how do we reach out to different markets? So as design professionals, we might have a market that focuses on private companies and development, and then another market segment that focuses on public. And maybe there's different branches within each of those market segments. The second area of our business plan is the marketing plan. How do we get business with new clients, repeat clients, and so on? We need to identify the current and future company needs. We need to align the company's products, skills, resources to meet those needs. Sorry, I went a little too fast. Marketing research often comes into play here with demographics, market size. Who is our competition? And what are those barriers to entry? Do you have to invest a lot of money, like in a distribution channel like Amazon has? Or do you just need to buy a computer and be able to run some calculations for a startup design professional? Marketing plans, setting goals and objectives as we talked about in our earlier video, identifying opportunities for current and future clients, developing a strategy to engage those opportunities, and developing a business to meet those business plans. It's been said that if you exceed client expectations, that is marketing because it develops into huge repeat business. What are our client needs? First of all, identifying the clients, but do we wait for them to come knocking, or do we attend professional meetings, visit them at their offices, or go to the job site? It's probably a little bit of each of those. The future market, what are they? We have to learn and engage with our clients. It's important to understand client needs. What type of work is needed? When is the service needed? How big is the budget? What qualities are important to them? And what do they like to work with? How are the relationships developed? Client needs can be very complex and almost a scary thing to try and understand. But oftentimes it's just a matter of asking them and understanding when they have needs and how you can provide those needs. And where do we try to find them? In professional meetings, or just simply call them? You had some homework where you were to look into a particular company, identify the 3 C's and the 4 P's. And these are something that are marketing basics. They were even things that I was introduced to for the MBA course of study I had. So you'll remember these. The 3 C's being the company, the customer, and the competition. And the 4 P's being promotion, product, price, and placement. Be sure to understand what each of these are as it would relate to the final exam that we have coming up, and know what their differences are. Now, when we get into a marketing plan, we can also talk about your unique selling proposition, or your USP. And that was the homework number 6, where you should develop 3 lines maximum of how do you introduce yourself. It sounds a little braggy, but it is important to be able to say, what sets me apart from my competitors, who are the people sitting next to you in class, if we could be in class. Um, if we were having class, I would have each one of you come up and in 30 seconds introduce yourself and why we should be hiring you. So before we get into the next 2 components of the business plan, I'd like to bridge off of your unique selling plan and introduce you to mine. As I shared with you in a prior video, during 9/11, I found myself laid off from my job. I was pretty concerned because I had a family to keep fed and a mortgage to pay. What do I do? How do I sell myself in a time that is just crazy? And it looked like we were entering into World War III. Very difficult times. But after I let the shock of all the news get past me, it was like, no, I'm going to put myself together and I'm going to have a unique selling proposition. And lo and behold, not only did I have one job offer, I had several job offers. And after going through the comparison and the selection, I found myself from a very worried situation to having a severance check on a Friday, which was the last day at my earlier job. And a severance check is basically a bunch of money that they give you to send you away so you can survive until you find a new job. And then I started on Monday with my new job and a sign-on bonus. It was probably the richest 4-day weekend I've ever had. But these are things that come into play when you have your unique selling proposition deployed well. So let's get into the third component of the business plan, and that's the financial plan. What are our expenses and what do we need to charge to be profitable? How do we manage cash flow? Because remember, cash is king, especially when times are really trying. And we need to look at financial documents, both past and present, and what's the forecast for the future. Profit and loss statements for understanding financial activity over a given period, or cash flow analysis where we can understand project revenues against expenses. The idea is that you're making money in order to be able to stay ahead. You'll have a balance sheet, which is a snapshot of the company's financials at that certain time. Remember the accounting formula: assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. This is something that will get drummed into you over and over should you take accounting courses. And then we want to measure ourselves against industry ratios for target multipliers, debt to equity ratios, and accounts receivable for work in progress. Now, I'm not going to ask you to understand all these things and these definitions. I do want you to know that there's a financial plan where you have to understand what are the key financial metrics for how you propel your business into the future. Then the fourth and final component is project analysis. It's data on previous projects so we can understand how do we cost ourselves out for knowing how to develop plans or reports or studies or calculations, and what was the quality of our service, and what was the level of profitability, and did we hit success rates. So now that we're concluding with our business plan, remember these takeaways. Professional standard of care always has to be our umbrella by which we perform work under. The benefits of planning, both from a big picture perspective and into the components of a business plan, where we talked about the 4 measurements or the 4 areas of a business plan. And remember the in-class assignment keys that we will be having from that assignment for understanding those high standards versus ordinary standard of care. Are agreements one-sided or fair for both sides? And what should we do to renegotiate components of an agreement before we sign? Now, there is another portion to this video that we're actually going to do in class, and it's top secrets of great interviews, where I hope to build upon your unique selling proposition. Thank you.